Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I have a very important video I had to make. No ands, ifs or buts. This is something we have to talk about right now this moment. A woman named Kimberly Sullivan of Waterbury, Connecticut, was arrested and is being held on $300,000 bail. For allegedly. And I have to say that because she's denying the charges. And everyone has their right to a fair trial. But when you hear this, you will be shaking your head. Like I was shaking my little cartoon head regarding how bad the situation is if the allegations are true. Her stepson was allegedly held captive in his bedroom for 20 years by his stepmother. He was allegedly only given 2 glasses of water a day. So he had to drink out of the toilet when he was thirsty. So he risked his own life by setting his room on fire with the hopes of being rescued. And when he was rescued, he, being 32 years old, was 5'9", weighing only 68 pounds. He had a body mass index of 11%. Keep in mind, when you are at 13%, that is considered life-threatening. His body was literally shutting down and he was dying. And the principal of his former school, when he was only 11 at the time, felt so bad the boy, that's now a man, was pushed so hard that he had to risk his life to set fire to his room to be rescued. And the boy's principal states he called the authorities about this young child's home life way back when the child was 11. Because he would often come to school hungry and was told he was only given small amounts of food. And in the principal's words, nothing was done about it. And it appears the authorities showed up a few other times and still nothing. And then the boy just vanished. And when the school checked in on him, they were told the child was enrolled in another school. And then they changed the story to he was homeschooled. The principal says he feels bad that they weren't able to do more to protect him. And I will leave links to this very important story in the box below. A story I would like us to follow carefully. Much like we did with the woman in Florida that stomped on her child all on camera in her apartment hallway. All to get probation. You see, I was asked recently, why do I think I was shadow banned? Well, for one, I made a comparison to the brainwashing in communism to narcissistic abuse. And literally the next day my channel was screwed. But on top of that, I dug a bit deeper on narcissist mother cases. And for the record, I don't know what this woman's problem is or isn't. But what I do know is, when you talk about men in a bad way, everyone cheers you on. Meaning, if you call out men's shortcomings or you talk about narcissist men, it's all okay. But the minute you talk about the dirty little secret of how common narcissism is amongst women, now that's a different story. And those of you that are long-time subscribers will remember on some of my older videos where I would talk about narcissist mothers and narcissist women, there was always someone in the comment section trying to divert the subject back to narcissist men. Or they would say, what about the men? Look, my audience is almost 50% men and 50% women. And there are times I talk about narcissists in general. I talk about them within relation to demons. And I cover stories of evil men and evil women. But when I would really dive deep into why there are so many narcissist women, the pushback army would come out. Now keep in mind, this woman is blaming her deceased husband for all of this stuff happening. But let's say the now young man and his story about being held captive is true. Again, we are playing what if here. What do you think the likelihood the stepmother did all of the talking to the police or CPS? Or whoever? And this isn't to say the now deceased father wasn't in on it. Because he very well could have been if the story is true. But let's say it was just the father alone. And instead of a young boy it was a young girl. Do you honestly believe nothing would have happened? 20 years and several calls and interactions and nothing would have come of it? Or do you think they would have kicked down the door and had the father face down on the ground with his hands behind his back? You see, I've talked about for many years, especially at the start of my channel, Of Miss Erin Peetsy, who was the first woman to ever create a woman's battered shelter, and then quickly realized the women were just as abusive as the men. And when she sought out to also help men, her life was threatened so badly she had to flee her home country of England. Now ask yourself a very simple and logical question. Why was her life threatened by simply trying to help men who were abused? Because in the words of Erin Peetsy, a great many of the feminists at the start of the feminist movement in the 60s and 70s were extremely disturbed violent women. Keep in mind, this is the time frame where some uninformed people today will say when feminism was about helping women. But today it's a problem. No, no, no. Back then was a problem too. You had some disturbed violent women wanting to create a world where if they deleted their husband for any reason, it was somehow justified. And then it turned to their kids. And you see, millions of them marching for that now, don't we? But even more so, they never wanted to be held accountable for their narcissism and sadistic behavior to others. Because they could always hide behind the guise of being a hard-working mother, just trying to do the best she could. Even Sylvester Stallone said he originally kept his childhood stories of abuse directed at his father, but recently came out about how abusive his mother was. And the reason why he didn't talk about his mother, as he didn't feel like it would be accepted as truth and people would just see him as complaining. But this is the world that feminists created, where they can in no way be an evildoer, because they are always the victim. They were able to get this pushed through to all police departments in most Western countries, that if there is shouting or what appears to be domestic abuse, that the man is to be seen by default as the aggressor. And there is not a woman that lives in a Western country that doesn't know this fact. No. Not every woman takes advantage of it, but a great many do. The truth is, and I believe I'm the only one that has said what I'm about ready to say, and I've been saying this for years, is the reason why Erin Peetsy wasn't allowed to help men. And the very reason why every time someone tries to open a men's shelter in the US, rabid feminists do all kinds of evil things to prevent them from actually opening. And the reason why I believe is because they know that if one opens without pushback, then another will open, and another and another and another. And before you know it, you will have one in every county and in every city and state across the US. Then before you know it, it would spread to all other Western countries. And from all of that, you would now have some hard data. Data that would disprove that women are always the victim. And that women always by and large make the best parent. And that women are less abusive than men. We will quickly find out that we've all been lied to and been sold a bill of goods. And that people, both men and women, are capable of evil. It's that simple. But guess what would happen? All of that money they were getting to spread propaganda will all go away. This is why back then, writers that wrote anything against the feminist movement couldn't get writing jobs. Because all of the money was going to those writing in favor of anything the feminist movement and those within it had to say. Why did this happen? Because they knew if there was a counter message, the propaganda wouldn't spread and it wouldn't take hold in society. And to get such a change to happen, you have to silence anyone that dare speak up against such propaganda. Well, in the space of narcissistic abuse here on this platform, and in other topic spaces as well, they put the brakes on a lot of people. Because they knew, if these people can make good money from their content, they can have more time to make more content. And if they make more content, it will override their propaganda and their propaganda won't take hold. So they made sure the money went to those that either spread their message or that gave you useless entertainment, such as people doing prank videos and the like. But they didn't want money going to those spreading the truth, because they know with that money comes more time for such a content creator to do more and more and more. And they didn't want that to happen. Now again, though this story looks pretty darn bad, It looks extremely bad. But with that being said, this woman is denying it. So she is entitled to a fair trial. But if she is guilty, if she were a man, or if her husband at the time that was living did all of the talking, and especially if it was a young girl reporting such abuse to her school, don't you think it would have been handled right then right there? But again, if she is guilty, if she is, I wouldn't be shocked. She likely pulled the "I'm a stressed out mother" card. And they let her go back to business as usual. And if that is the case, then what I was getting in trouble for years ago was and is true. And everything Aaron Pizzi has been saying for decades was and is true. Look. I believe evil knows no gender. But you have to be a special kind of evil to convince the world that one gender is never wrong and never at fault for anything and they are always the victim. Doesn't something seem wrong with that when you say it out loud? But that's essentially, according to Aaron Pizzi, what the feminist movement was all about. And if this news story is true, this is the end result of such a movement. Let's follow this story. And let's see what happens. My prayers go out to this young man. He was only 68 pounds. I pray God be with him and heal him. No matter what happened. Well, that's all I have for today. I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.